Hello again, everybody. It is that time for the International Agenda presented by the BJ Show. As always, I'm your host, Aidan Barry. We've got some stuff to cover this week. Let's get straight into it. National Agenda. We have soccer coverage from the Premier League, Internationals, and the EFL Cup. We also have NHL and NBA rundowns as we get closer and closer to the playoffs in those leagues. And then we will have some motorsport. We've got some World Rally Championship and some Formula One. So we will start with some football. We'll get straight into the Premier League standings as we stand at the March international break. And unfortunately, for those of us hoping for a close year, it is going to be Liverpool, your champions. They are now on a track to need only 86 points, and that is barring any other slip-ups from Arsenal, who are chasing them in second place. So, unfortunately, we're not going to go all the way to the end this year, but good news for Liverpool fans. It looks like at this stage you have all but won the Premier League. As I said, in second is Arsenal, who will be chasing, but really just trying to consolidate European position. And then going further down, we have Forest, Nottingham Forest. Shockingly, the big story of the season, coming up to third and hoping for some Champions League action next year. At the moment, rounding out the Champions League places, in fourth place is Chelsea on 49 points. In fifth place is Manchester City on 48 points. Then as we go into the mid-table, in sixth place it's Newcastle, 47 points. Seventh is Brighton, also on 47 points behind Newcastle on goal difference. In eighth, it's Fulham on 45 points. And ninth, it's Aston Villa on 45 points, again, giving Fulham the advantage via goal difference. 10th place in the Premier League this season is Bournemouth. Great season from them, very strong year. They have 44 points, looking to close on what has been quite a fantastic year from their point of view. 11th are the Brentford Football Club. They are on 41 points. They are 12, 5 and 12 at this stage. And they are just sitting above 12th place Crystal Palace, who are 10, 9 and 9 on 39 points. Now we come to some of the big boys who are a little bit out of place. In 13th we have Manchester United with 37 points. In 14th we have Tottenham Hotspur on 34 points. In 15th, we have Everton on 34 points. Tottenham again having the advantage via goal difference. Although Everton have had a lot more draws than Tottenham, with 13 draws to Everton, 4 to Tottenham. 16th, again separated by goal difference, it's West Ham. Now, all those teams, I'm pretty happy that they're safe. 17th is Wolves, 26 points. They are probably safe, but anything would happen as we come down to that final stretch, as we've seen before with teams in the relegation zones going for a push. But it is a 3-game gap back to the relegation zone at this stage. Wolves have had a little bit of a run of recent. In 18th place, on 17 points, Ipswich Town, who have had, well, not a great year in the Premier League, but they have had some decent results. And some they've got away from. 19th place, 17 points, Leicester. Ipswich Town just ahead of them on goal difference. And pretty much already relegated, apart from a goddamn near miracle, is Southampton on 9 points. And what could be the worst Premier League season in history. If they continue this form, they may eclipse the point total of Derby County in that horrible, dreadful year from them when they had that year in the Premier League, roughly 15, nearly 20 years ago now. But that is all we have in the Premier League. We are going to go straight into the League Cup, the EFL Cup, and that was won by Newcastle United. They beat Liverpool 2-1. They were the better team on the day, and Liverpool just got a closing clean-up goal at the end there. So Newcastle ending their very, very, very long drought without a major trophy and going over Liverpool. Liverpool, who at the start of February were looking at on track for a quadruple winning and trying to win a Premier League, League Cup, FA Cup and Europe, could probably and will probably only come away with a Premier League, in which will what I would consider to be a disappointment. To close out our football broadcast for today, we will just go and have a look at the international qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, this is obviously the first 48-team World Cup. Now, Canada, Mexico, and United States as joint hosts will be qualified automatically. But we have had, from the March bracket of international games, we have had 4 teams join them as confirmed qualifiers. So we have from the OFC, we have New Zealand. New Zealand in the World Cup for the first time since 2010. And that was, I believe, their only appearance in a World Cup apart from 1982. We'll go to the AFC. AFC has some strong teams joining the World Cup. It is Japan and Iran currently in the AFC. The Socceroos are looking good. They could qualify. They've got Japan and Saudi in their final bracket in June. So they are on position to qualify but need some good results in those games to get through. The final team who is automatically qualified for this World Cup is Argentina, who are guaranteed South American CONMEBOL top 6. So Argentina will be finishing in that South American qualifying space CONMEBOL bracket top 6, and therefore they are already qualified. So we won't know who is qualified more until June, but we will have updates as we go along towards that time, and I'll keep you updated on every team who makes it into the 2026 United World Cup. That was our look at football for this episode of the International Agenda. Let's get into some motor racing. We are going to start with the Formula One World Championship. We had the Australian race a couple of weeks ago. That was chaos at the end. That was won by Lando Norris of McLaren, with Max Verstappen of Red Bull in second place. But we will go straight to the Chinese Grand Prix, where it was a dual event race. So we had the sprint race and we had the Grand Prix proper. The sprint race was won by Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton, very happy boy, getting through his first win for the team from Maranello. In the main race, it was all about McLaren, as it could be for most of this year. The orange is flying high, and I'm not talking about the orange that we see in Zandvoort for Max Verstappen, but instead the orange of McLaren. Oscar Piastri takes the pole for the Grand Prix, cruises to victory. Lando Norris in second, George Russell from Mercedes in third. Now, what we have here is an interesting little thing that happened after the race. Is both Ferraris, both car 16 of Charles Leclerc and car 44 of Lewis Hamilton were disqualified post-race. Leclerc's car was disqualified for being underweight at the post-race car rate, and Hamilton's rear floor plates were just slightly too thin for minimum standard, and that is what got him disqualified from the Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly was also disqualified for the same reason as Charles Leclerc, having issues on the way in for the car. But there is one driver I would like to point out, and that's Kimi Antonelli, who's been very, very good for Mercedes to start this season. You know, as a young guy, he's coming into one of the top teams on the grid over the last 10 years and replacing Lewis Hamilton. So he's jumping into Lewis's old seat at Mercedes, and he's done well. He's got a couple of points finishes. He's starting to get to terms with the car, get to grip with the car, and we will see big things from him towards the end of this year and in the future, I'll guarantee it. On the flip side of good drivers, we have some news out of Red Bull. Liam Lawson, he will be taking a back seat to Yuki Tsunoda as Red Bull have decided they are going to switch the driver lineup for the Japanese Grand Prix in the next couple of weeks, with Tsunoda going up to Red Bull F1 and Lawson going back to the Racing Bulls team, their junior team, for a little bit of fine-tuning, I think. If Tsunoda does well in the Red Bull, though, I think he deserves that seat. And I've wanted to say this before, and I have said it before, not on this show, but Tsunoda should have always been the guy for that Red Bull seat. He is the perfect candidate. He's the guy who's qualified, he's done the hard yards, and he needs to get that recognition. And Red Bull, they tried to throw somebody who was probably not quite ready into a Red Bull. Red Bull, a very tough car, designed the way Max likes it through. So, and that's how it should be. He is their team's number one driver. But Lawson, unfortunately, got the rear end of the stick there, and they've had to make a change for Suzuka, and they bring in hometown boy, home country boy Yuki Tsunoda in for the Japanese Grand Prix, which is something I'm really looking forward to. We will now get into some World Rally Championship coverage. So we had the World Safari Rally of Kenya over the last couple of weeks, and this is one of my favourite rallies. Always a great show, different types of stages, some very hard gravel, some very loose gravel, some through the jungle, and this year's winner was Elfyn Evans of the flying the British national flag for rally. He is Welsh by descent, but he flies the flag of Great Britain for his rallying team. So that's another win. He drives in the Toyota Gazoo racing team, and they are one of the top teams this year in the Rally Championship. Evans finishing with a time of 4 hours, 20 minutes, 3 seconds, 0.8. So, rally, very strong starts from Evans. He looks like he is going to be the man to beat this year. He's already got a large gap of 36 points through 3 rallies to second place Thierry Neuville of Belgium. So, big start for Elfyn Evans, hoping to continue it. They will go to Spain for their next rally, and I will keep you up to date on all the coverage of the World Rally Championship as we go along. There's our look at motorsport for this episode of the International Agenda. But as I said, we will be back to discuss MotoGP, World Rally Championship, Formula One as those seasons do progress. We will now get into a little bit of NBA action. And while I'm on the basketball, I have been recording some March Madness episodes during the week for college basketball. If you're interested in them, they're on the channel. Please have a look at them. But now let's get straight into some NBA.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang!
We will now start by having a look at the NBA Eastern Conference. In the Eastern Conference, in first place, as they have been all year, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're looking to clinch the Eastern Conference in the coming weeks. They are leading the conference by 5 games. In second, the Boston Celtics, who have clinched a playoff spot. Very strong position. They're going to hold second, if not go up and clinch that conference in the final run as Cleveland slide back a few. Third place in the East is the New York Knicks. Clinch their position in the playoffs as well. They will be they're 13.5 games behind Cleveland and have teams chasing them from behind in Indiana and Detroit. Indiana and Detroit in 4th and 5th, teams who are looking to clinch in the next couple of games. So good results for them in their games will see them clinch conference. And in 6th, the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll now go into the Eastern Conference play-in teams. So Milwaukee in 6th has a 5-game gap to the play-in, starting in 7th with the Atlanta Hawks. They have pretty much all but clinched the play-in. In 8th, the Orlando Magic. In 9th, the Chicago Bulls. And in 10th, the Miami Heat. Now, I think with what we've got left, most teams having roughly an aggregate of 70 games left in the season, that conference is pretty much set. So all those teams in the Eastern Conference, it is now just about final seeding and final positioning for them. We will head out west, where we have one team who has guaranteed themselves in the playoffs, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they have also clinched the Western Conference. They are 13.5 games up on the trailing teams at a minimum. In second is the Houston Rockets, a surprise package for second in conference this year. Houston Rockets, team who I thought would be building for a couple more years before they ended up in a top 2 position. However, if they do manage to hold it, they will have first and second round games at home. In third, the Denver Nuggets, 15.5 games back of Oklahoma. In fourth, the Los Angeles Lakers, 17 games back. In fifth, the Memphis Grizzlies, also 17 games back. In sixth, the Los Angeles Clippers, 19.5 games back. And that is your current top 6. However, the West is still shaky. As you can see, the gap between each team is a lot smaller than it is in the East, and no one has guaranteed their position at all yet. In the play-in positions for the Western Conference at the moment, with the Golden State Warriors 19.5 games back, equal games played with the Clippers. 20 games back is the Minnesota Timberwolves in 8th. 9th place is Sacramento, 25 games back. And in 10th is Dallas, 25.5 games back. With the Phoenix Suns also lurking 26 games back. So Dallas, we know they have big injury problems at the moment. I think Phoenix will come in and take over that spot as the 10 seed in the Western Conference. Probably could also push up possibly to a 9 seed as well. But that is your NBA wrap at the 70 game mark of this season. As we get closer and closer to the playoffs, I will keep you updated as always. Let's move straight in to some NHL action. We will now begin in the Eastern Conference with the Atlantic Division, and no one in the Atlantic yet has clinched a playoff position. We have 3 teams tied on 89 points. The Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the Lightning have played 72 games, the Leafs and the Panthers 71, so they have a chance to get a little bit of a gap over the Lightning by a point or 2 points. Hanging around for a possible wildcard position is the Ottawa Senators. So that's really the only teams who are in play in the Atlantic in the NHL. We will go down now to the Met. And in the Met, we have a team who are clinched playoff. It is Vetchke and the Washington Capitals. They have 103 points on the year, and they have a 13-point gap to second place in their division, which is the Carolina Hurricanes. In third place in the Met is the New Jersey Devils. Then positioning for that final wildcard spot, we have the New York Islanders on 74 points, the New York Rangers on 74 points, and the Columbus Blue Jackets on 73 points. We will now go to the Western Conference, where we have another team who have clinched, and it's the Winnipeg Jets. They are on 102 points. Dallas behind in second place in the Central could also clinch very soon. They're on 98 points. And then Colorado just behind them on 93 points. Minnesota and St. Louis angling for a wild card position on 87 and 85 points respectively. And the final division we have is the Pacific, where no one has clinched. That is currently led by the Vegas Golden Knights on 94 points, with the LA Kings second on 89 points, the Edmonton Oilers in third on 87 points, and then in the wildcard chase we have the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames. So, just like the NBA, I'll keep you up to date with everything happening in the NHL as we get closer and closer to crunch time. I will do a playoff bracket special for both the NBA and the NHL when we have those full brackets in front of us ready to go. That's everything I have for you on this episode of the International Agenda. One thing I will say to keep a lookout for as we go into future episodes is that Major League Baseball season is starting, and we also have the drafts for the major sports coming up. So we have the the NFL draft coming up in April, along with the NHL and the NBA drafts in June. So keep your eye out for them. Baseball's back. Opening day was today. My O-Birds got a win. I'm real happy about that. We're in a good position to go this season. But we'll catch up with baseball next time. And as always, thank you for listening to the International Agenda. I've been your host, Aidan Barry. Bye for now.